purpose of tonight's meditation and tonight's class is going to be to alleviate the state of anxiety that we may be feeling, a practice of trying to understand what steps we need to take in our thinking to try and tap into a place of peace and tranquility internally. What I want everyone to do here is to bring yourself into your bodies. Feel yourself sitting in the room. Feel yourself breathing. Slowly allow your breath to anchor you into a still state of presence in your body. There are thousands of things you can be thinking about. There are thousands of things you can be worrying about. Put those things aside. Bring yourself completely into the energy field that's in your body. And into the awareness of your breath. Those are the only two things I want you to be focusing on now. Any thoughts that come up, any worries that come up, any concerns or pains that come up, bring yourself back to the most simplest things that you have, and that is the energy in your body and your breath. The more you dissolve all of the illusory aspects around you, the incessant thinking, the more you anchor yourself, the more life you will begin to feel. I'm going to take you through a meditation of learning. And the reason why we started off with quietening our minds is that to access a state of spirituality, access a state of presence, it's impossible to do that when you are in a state of fear, in a state of turbulence, and in a state of anxiety. It's brought down that once we ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, one of the punishments was that we were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, a place of pure tranquility. And to guard that place, a revolving sword was placed at the entrance. The revolving sword, according to Kabbalah, is the incessant stress, endless thinking, endless worrying, essentially about nothing. I want you all to slowly bring your awareness, opening your eyes back to the room. Trying to bring that state of stillness into what you see. Gemara says that a person with arrogance is in a state where even a filu ruach kima ocharto, which means even a small wind, a small state of disturbance, a small emotional energy that comes into their body, ocharto, which means disturbs that person, sullies or dirties that individual. And it brings the most frightening verse from Yeshayahu, which says, V'harashayim kiyam nigrash. The wicked, which are people that are in a state of transience, a state of constant fear. Rash is noise. And a rasha is a person that's filled with noise. It says the Rashayim Kiyam Nigrash are like the tumultuous sea. Uma Yan Sheyesh Lekam Revius Ruach Kima Achartoi Adam She'en Boy Ele Revius Achas Alachas Kama Bekama. Which means that if the waters of the ocean are turned into a chaotic, tumultuous sea with waves throwing up all of the mud and all of the seaweed and all of the dirt up to the surface, how much more so an individual that dwells in one revius, one small morsel of blood in their body, how much more if a small wind passes over such a person, does all the dirt and all of the states of anxiety and stress become apparent. And essentially people try and spend their lives building walls to protect this wind from ever coming to affect them. We know that this is a wind that is able to transcend and go through any wall. And if a person isn't able to tap into one fundamental aspect of who they are, no matter how thick and how tall the walls that you build, be it through your prowess of success, building up an empire, building up your prestige, no matter what the circumstance is, that wind will affect the individual. One of the most beautiful antidotes to this reality is provided by the next source in the Gemara. I'm going to read it to you in Aramaic and we'll try and understand it. And again, I want you to understand that this process is not only a process of learning. Essentially, the process of engaging with Torah, to be amal, to toil with Torah, is itself a meditation. And with every word that we read, and every deeper concept that we delve into, I want you to slowly tap into the energy that's behind the words, the deeper meaning that resonates with inside of you. Elazar said, Kol Adam sheyesh bo igasus haruach, ein afroi minar. Any individual that has a thickness of ruach, generally translated as a state of egoic identity, of arrogance. But if you look at the literal translation of the words, it says gasus haruach, which means a thickness of spirit, a thickness of emotion, an ozone layer. And I guess an ozone layer is a positive thing. This is a thick smog of emotion that envelops the individual. They are just full of emotions, turbulence, endless pain, confusion, cloudiness, darkness, which is essentially the byproduct of the egoic identity. But one of the most fascinating things is it says that that individual will not be awoken, cannot be revived from their dead feeling. It says that their dust doesn't wake up. And it brings one of the most important states of engagement, in which the final verse of that source says, Shacheni afar. You who dwell in the dust. And the word shachen, on a very simple level, can mean to dwell. But when looked deeply and understood properly, the Gemara tells us that the word shachen means a neighbor. It means that the only way to redeem oneself from a state of zombie-like living, a dearth of existence or non-existence, the only way that you can tap into life itself is when you become neighbors with the dust. A neighbor dwells next to the dust. And just like a neighbor who looks next door and says, wow, not much of a difference between me and the individual that's next to me. When a person is neighbors with the dust, it means that they don't see themselves as any different from the dust itself that they walk on. Tonight we're sitting on the floor. And it's not for any strange reason that most powerful meditations take place closer to the floor. Not only within Eastern philosophies, but the poses engendered by Jewish tradition and some of the highest states of awareness, which are called the Ma'aseh Merkava, which is the meditative states of the chariot, would take place with people sitting on the floor with their heads in between their knees. almost in a dissolved fetal position, seeing themselves as totally one with the dust. As soon as a person sees themselves as any different from the dust that they walk on, any higher or more elevated or separate, the immediate outcome is one of pain, one of dissonance. So what I want you to do for the second part of this meditation is I want you to feel yourself sitting on the floor. Feel the humility that it induces. It's no wonder that in Jewish tradition, when the greatest state of loss and turbulence hits an individual, God forbid, through the death of a beloved individual, someone in their family, God forbid, we know that the mitzvah is to sit on the floor, the commandment is to sit on the floor, and to humble oneself, to bring oneself back to the dust. That is one of the most redeeming states, to which it says an individual who is neighbors with the dust is a person who will be awoken from their state of death. So bring yourself into an awareness of the dust. Understand that we have been created, and every iota of our being has been formulated from the dust of the earth. We are but the byproduct of dust. Bring yourself into that state of awareness. The deep, tranquil serenity of dissolving into the dust. This is a very perplexing Gemara, but I think it is the essence of life itself. The Gemara brings a circumstance in which a rabbi by the name of Rava came to visit a certain governor by the name of Bar Shishach. The Gemara tells us that this Bar Shishach, this governor, despite being part of the Roman civilization, was an individual that didn't follow foreign deities and was quite friendly with Rava, who decided that he wanted to come and bring him a gift. So the Gemara says that Rava comes along and he brings him a gift, and he finds him sitting in a bath filled with roses, surrounded by licentious and immoral activity. And Bar Shishach turns to Rava and he says, Rava, Yislechu kahai gavna la'alama da'asi. Do you have such things in your supernal world Do you have such things in the world to come? Such immense states of pleasure. To which Rava responds and he says, Didan adifa tefemahai. Ours is even greater than yours. Even greater than this. Amalei, Bar Shishach says back to him, Tefemahai mihave. Better than this? Who can have something better than this? And I want you to listen into these words very carefully. Despite you being in the highest states of pleasure and luxury, ours is better for one reason, and that is you live in a state of fear, and we don't. Literally translated, you are constantly afraid of the government and of the king and what may happen to you. And in our world, the Olam Haba, the world to come, so to speak, we don't have such fear. The Gemara says that Bar Shishach responds to him and he says, what do you mean? I don't have any fear. I am one of the most powerful men. And you can tell me I have fear? There's nothing I fear. To which it says, soon after the experience, there was a knock on the door, and a soldier came in summoning this Bar Shishach to the Caesar, into which his eyes were gouged out. That's the Gemara. Now, essentially, there are many questions we can ask in understanding this story. But I want to take you straight into the deep understanding. That when one sees themselves as anything more than dust, all of their achievements, all of their identity is surrounded by a constant state of fearing loss. How do I retain what I have amassed? How do I contain, secure this state of existence? But what Rava was saying back to Bar Shishach was not only about the world to come of after an individual dies, in that world of pleasure, a person has no fear. But really this was a discussion or a debate about states of consciousness. To which Bar Shishach was saying to Rava, why do I need what you have? I have everything. I am powerful. I can fulfill any lust or desire. I can constantly satiate myself through pleasure. But what Rava's response to him was much deeper than that. And he said to him, yes, you have these aspects of pleasure, but the definition of self by these aspects comes with the curse of fear, comes with the curse of loss, comes with the incessant anxiety of what if. What if this happens? and it might change my circumstance into this. But Rava said that our state of consciousness is one where we have no fear. Because when the individual dissolves themselves into the dust, there is nothing to lose. There is nothing to fear. All they have left after they've dissolved that external self, the shell, is a pure state of expansive connectivity. The final source that I have for you here is a source brought down in the Gemara which says, in the name of Rav Yochanan, some say it was Rava, that the world only exists because of Moses and Aaron. Because they were able to state the simple verse of Anachnu ma, we are what? Essentially, we are nothing. Essentially, all that we think about, all that we worry about, all that we hold dear is nothing. When we put everything into context and understand the backdrop of existence, the nothingness of everything, we are able to see things clearly as they are. To which the source concludes and says, Toila Eretz Ablima, which means that the world is premised, the world stands on blima, nothingness. And the word blima is made up of two words, bli, ma. Bli is without, and ma is what? The existence that we look for, the true state of existence, is found when we are able to contextualize and see all of our worries and see all of the things that we hold so dear, consistent mind patterns of thought, essentially end up nowhere and are made up of nothing. But in that discovery, in that nothingness is found the deepest state of existence. In the cessation of one of the holiest days of the year which we approach, the day of true consciousness, the day of true connectivity, known as the happiest day of the entire year, which is Yom Kippur. We conclude the day with a mantra. And the mantra that we say is Adonai Hu ha-Elohim. What this mantra represents, according to the Nefesh HaChaim and according to Kabbalah, is the name of God, which is Elohim. Represents the distant, illusory reality that we look in this world and we say, we understand that God has created all of this, but we feel so distant. Elohim, according to the deeper studies of the numerical value of words, the gematria, is hateva, nature, in which we look at everything around us and we see nature. But what our conscious reality is teaching us is Adonai Hu Elohim, the state of Yud Kei Vav Kei, the name of God, Yud Kei Vav Kei. Is the name of God that brought everything into being. And by us combining those words, saying Hashem Hu Elokim, is the ability to remove the mask of our thoughts, remove the mask of our worries, dissolve ourselves into the dust, and see the godliness that permeates every single iota of existence. The next mantra that we'll recite, Adonai Melech, Adonai Malach, Adonai Mloich Le'olam Va'ed, which means that this state of Yud Kei Vav Kei, this state of total oneness, this state of total purity, is Melech. It reigns into every aspect of now. Every moment of now that exists in all of creation, in all of existence, is permeated by Yud Kei Vav Kei. Adonai Malach means that every single thing that happened in the past, from the beginning of creation until now, is essentially no different from the present moment that we're in. And Adonai Yimloich Le'olam Va'ed is saying that everything that will happen is essentially no different from what is happening right now as well. The past, the present, and the future are essentially the same. I want you to say to yourselves, if you feel comfortable pronouncing it, bringing yourself firstly totally back in the dust. Bringing yourself back into the energy inside your body. Bringing your consciousness back into your breath. simple states of being. Not needing to feed your reality with thought to exist. Saying to yourself softly, Adonai hu ha-Elohim. Adonai hu ha-Elohim. Being able to take the existence of pure simplicity that permeates the world and see it clearly behind the noise and disparate nature of our illusory existence. Adonai hu ha-Elohim. Adonai Melech. Adonai Malach. Adonai Melech Olam Vaed. Adonai Melech. Adonai Malach. Adonai Melech Olam Vaed. Adonai Melech. Adonai Malach. Adonai Melech Olam Vaed. And oscillate between these mantras. Bring yourself back to the initial one that we learned. Adonai hu ha-Elohim. Taking a few final breaths. With every breath, breathing in that oneness. With every breath out, dissolving yourself into that oneness. Breathing in, Yud-Keh Vav-Keh. Breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. And final breath. Trying to picture the letters of Yud-Keh Vav-Keh if you can in your mind. Breathing out. Be a silent prayer now.